I'm your host, Chris Bellard. Welcome to episode 1 of the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. Thank you so much for taking your time to come out and listen. I want to discuss some of my goals for the show and let you know what I hope you'll be able to get out of it. The thing that directly inspired me to start this was Season 6, Episode 5 of Startup Podcast by Gimlet Media. The episode was called Just Hit Record and tells the story of a young man who'd been recently released from prison, and he's trying to start over. So Startup in general is a podcast about starting your own company, but they featured his episode in his podcast because, getting out of prison and trying to start all over can sometimes feel like starting a company where the world is against you. There are so many challenges to overcome, and that is why the episode was called Just Hit Record. It's, start recording everything, start doing something. And that really motivated me. I said, hey, I listen to so much audio content, either on Audible or through podcasts. I absorb so much information. Why don't I make a short and sweet podcast where I can summarize some of my learnings and maybe even help others discover new books or podcasts that they might also enjoy? I know that there's so many different things out there, and not everyone has a whole lot of time to listen to an hour-long podcast. For that reason, I want to make something that's short and sweet where I can just get to the point, give you some information, give you some actionable steps to take away, and get out there and start kicking butt on your goals today. I plan for each season to have slightly different focus. For example, Season 1 will be about various startup topics such as inventing a product or launching a Kickstarter campaign or what's better, LLC, S-Corp, the pros and cons of all those things. I guess you have to pick for yourself ultimately if you haven't already, but I will go ahead and show you some of the research that I've found, some of the takeaways that I've put together. Season 2 will focus on some of the books that I've read, various books like 4-Hour Workweek or Millionaire Fastlane, what the key takeaways are. And even if you've read it already, you'll find value. It might remind you of some of the takeaways from them, as well as give you some actionable steps to take today. Season 3 will focus on takeaways from some of my favorite business-related podcasts, such as Startup from Gimlet Media or How I Built This, Side Hustle School as well. And then Season 4, I plan to interview successful business owners or side hustlers that I personally know or in my Houston, Texas area. And eventually I'll start growing and, interviewing other people as well from other states and countries as I get better at the whole podcasting thing and figure out how to mic up appropriately. I have listened to podcasts where people do phone interviews and the audio is unclear, so I really want to avoid that until I can perfect that art. Right now I'm just starting, lapel mic and my iPhone, so hopefully the quality is good for you guys. So there's just so much content and information out there. It can cause analysis paralysis. Some of the previous people I've worked at in a Fortune 500 company, they could analyze things all day long, but when it came to making a decision, they were never quite satisfied. They never felt confident making a decision. Now, I stand by it. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I try not to get analysis paralysis. I make the best decisions available with the information that I have. Now, sometimes you make the wrong decision, and that's okay. Make the best decision that you can with the information that you have in a reasonable amount of time. You don't have to go ahead and act in 5 minutes or less or make an immediate decision. You can take some time to think things over, but don't spend weeks and weeks and weeks mulling something over. At some point, you need to just take action. You've got all the information that you're going to get. You've learned all you can. Do something. And that's very important, I think, in working towards your goals. Because if you have $1 million idea but you don't execute, then guess what? It doesn't matter. If you have a crappy idea but you execute on it really well, then you've already gone further than the guy with $1 million idea who's done nothing to get closer to that goal. Whether I talk about startup tips or I interview successful business owners, my goal either way is going to be to give you the key takeaways for your benefit, and I want to leave you with a few actionable steps that you can take to move closer to your own goals. Plan on episodes being released by noon Central Standard Time every Monday, at least for the foreseeable future. I'm going to aim for short podcast episodes like I mentioned because that's usually what I like to listen to when I'm doing dishes or driving. Short and sweet, get to the point, give me the value, and then I can move on to the next show. Side Hustle School is a good example of this. Their episodes are usually about 10 minutes long. I do love some longer episodes, such as How I Built This, but once the shows get to be an hour or 2 hours, it just becomes a little overwhelming, in my opinion. I forget to finish sometimes, or if I'm interrupted. I'm really a fan of finishing things all the way through. You know, whenever you're staying in a hotel on vacation, for example, and you turn the TV on and you're watching half of a movie, I really can't stand that. I'm like, no, turn it off. I'll watch it later. I want to watch the whole thing, make sure I understand everything, get the full value from it. Same thing with podcasts. I personally don't like listening to 30 minutes of a 1 hour podcast, and then if something comes up and I forget to get back to it, it can sometimes be hard to manage, and I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of the value in the takeaways. I want to borrow the tagline idea that Side Hustle School uses. Chris Guillebeau says that inspiration is good, but inspiration combined with action is so much better. I completely agree with that, and I personally want to use a tagline for my show. Mine is going to be less dreaming and more doing. Too many people dream and talk about what they're going to do. Not enough people actually get to the doing part. So I use the term wishes because dreams without a deadline will remain dreams and will never become reality. Let me say that again for you guys. Dreams without a deadline remain dreams and will never become a reality. You might have heard the phrase, goals are dreams with deadlines. So make a plan, work the plan, just do something. If it works, great. If not, learn from your experience and make the appropriate changes going forward. There's another quote for those of you that are afraid to fail that goes, I either succeed or I learn. I never fail. Now, that's really important because it all goes back to mindset, being positive. I know a lot of people don't do things or don't try new things. They're scared of failing. They're scared of what people will think of them if they're not able to succeed on the first try. There's such a pressure from society to be perfect, to get things right. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay to fail. Just reframe the word failure as a learning experience. I either succeed or learn. I never fail. That's very important, guys. Keep that positive mindset. The glass is half full, not half empty. You need to rewire your brain to be the positive person in every situation. This will take you so much further than a negative Nancy attitude where you see the negative in everything. You complain about everything. Don't be that type of person. So key takeaways from this episode. This podcast will summarize the content and value from other books, podcasts, articles, successful business or startup owners, and I'll refer you to those sources if you want to check them out directly. New episodes will be released Central Standard Time, noon, every Monday for the foreseeable future. Today's daily motivation, remember that goals are dreams with deadlines. Make a plan, work the plan, just do something. Actionable steps for you today. Write down a list of goals that you have. They can be big goals, they can be small goals. Really take the time to write down everything that you want to achieve. Then break those into smaller steps. Hang up a note card on your desk or a place where you'll see them daily and be reminded of what you are working towards. With that, I'm signing off for today. Feel free to contact me with any comments or questions at chrisbello.com. And remember, less dreaming, more doing.